Hi, Louise. Thanks for joining me again.
You're welcome.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about cognitive behavior therapy. Slightly different than cognitive behavior theory. It just has a different way of looking at a situation. So I'm going to get Louise to maybe think about something as we describe it. So what we have to initially do is we describe the situation that we're having problem, and the description is, describe the situation by answering the following question. What were you doing? Was anyone with you? What time or period of the day was it? And where did it happen? So this deals with something that's upset you or caused you to behave or think or act in a way that you don't want. And a lot of times this is based on the idea of we have automatic thoughts followed by automatic actions that we don't even think about. We just react to a situation. Based on the whole idea of cognitive behavior theory, which says that everything we do today is driven by things that have occurred in our life. It's almost like repetitive. And we responded a certain way at a certain time in our life, and that's merely what we're doing today. So I want you to think of a situation that annoyed you, frustrated you, pissed you off, whatever it was, something that you responded to and you didn't want to respond in that way. So tell me when you have something along that line.
I have one.
Okay. Would you care to tell me what it was?
Sure. My husband and I were sitting at the table and we were doing some paperwork, and we were discussing whether or not our son was going to come over the next day and bring his daughter. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. We didn't know. And I said, well, if he comes with baby, I will probably come over and visit. Because the weekend before he had come with the baby, and it was really nice to spend that time with her. And so then we carried on doing what we were doing, and a little while later he left the room and he came back in and he said to me, well, I sent Jesse a text and told him that if he's going to bring Ginny over tomorrow, then you'll come. And I didn't like that he did that. And I said, I didn't ask you to do that. Well, yes, you did. So he was arguing with me that I did, and I didn't, how I responded, how I didn't want to respond was I shut down right then and there. I stopped. Then that conversation is over, because I have two choices at that point, is to do what I'm doing or get into a disagreements and get adamant saying, no, I didn't ask you to do that. So I didn't, and I chose the passive way and I didn't say anything. And so that's what happened. And that's a fairly common occurrence when we have something we don't agree on and he's adamant, I'll just back off.
Okay. So I want you to identify your mood. Now, we're using a thought record out of the text. And it says identify and rate your mood from 0 to 100. 0 being no emotion, 100 being lots of emotion, whether it's unpleasant or angry or whatever it is. So what do you think your mood was at that moment when this was all occurring?
I would suggest that I didn't feel much because I shut down.
So how much emotion would you have to feel before you would shut down? Would it have to be really high?
No.
So you had no emotion?
I wouldn't have to have a big reaction to shut down. As soon as I come up against aggression, later on I thought about it and I could see what happened. At the moment though, I don't remember feeling anything except I'm not going to fight about this. There was more of a thought. I'm not going to fight about this. If I push this, it'll be a fight.
Okay, so is that an old emotion? Is that how you used to behave as a child?
It's totally an old way of handling things.
Just shut down?
Shut down right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's good. So your automatic thought then is to feel what's going on and then shut down.
Yep.
Okay, so that's number 3. We're identifying the automatic thought.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think that that says about you?
That I do that?
Yeah.
Tells me I'm not important.
Okay.
really.
What does that mean about me, my life, my future?
Oh, it means I get chucked around emotionally because it's like I don't stand up for myself. Yeah, I don't stand up for myself because I'm afraid of, well, I don't know if I'm afraid, but I don't want to deal with fighting with somebody. I don't want to have to stand up for myself and have it be a fight. My desire would be to be able to stand up for myself and then be done.
Okay. So that kind of was my next question. What is my fear? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the worst thing that could happen?
If I didn't shut down,
Yeah.
I'd swear, I'd yell, I'd lose my mind. I would totally overreact and become very aggressive myself, which is how I used to behave, and I don't like that in me. It's very destructive, and I shut. Maybe that's part of why I shut down, is because I've gone to the other extreme and I haven't found a balance yet.
Okay.
Or I'm not as where I'd like to be. Yeah.
So what do you think that means about how other people or the person thinks or feels about me when this initially happened and you were made to feel like that and then you shut down? So
I think it makes them feel like that they're in control and they can do whatever they want, and I won't say anything or do anything. There's no consequences.
what do you think this means about people or the world in general?
There are bullies and there are not bullies.
That's good. What kind of an image or memory does this bring up in your past?
It's probably to do with my father. If you disagreed with him, he just dismissed you. It was not physically necessarily, but it's like I felt like a gnat a lot of times, and just a bug, insignificant.
Okay. So we want to look at the hot thought. Now that was the thought that you initially had that caused you to shut down. So a hot thought is the automatic thought that is really causing the emotion. Keep in mind, you can have one hot thought related to one emotion, or in this case, a number of emotions. A different hot thought for each emotion. So we only want to talk about the real facts, and we have to think in terms of, if we were in a court of law, what facts would we present? But facts cannot be questioned, so your facts are your facts. So what is the automatic thought that is really causing the emotion? And you gave me a little bit of a clue about your dad. So what is the hot thought that causes that emotion?
If someone disagrees with me, I'm wrong.
Okay.
I must be wrong. Maybe I should clarify.
Okay, that's fine. We're good. We're good. We'll go to the next question then. Facts that do not support my hot thought. So, what doesn't support that thought that you're wrong?
I know I didn't ask him to send a text on my behalf. I would have sent my own text. I don't ask people to do stuff for me that I should be doing for myself. That's,
Okay.
I don't know if that does that answer your
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay.
You know, that's pretty good. And what do you base that on? Just that's the way you are?
I know myself. That's how I operate.
Okay. So we're going to go to the next box now. What is the most balanced, realistic, or objective way to see the situation? What we look at is, now that you've come up with what are the facts, and facts that don't support, if you were to look at this and try and balance it on a scale now, maybe it was lopsided before we started, but now that you've said, well, that's not what I do, how's the balance feel right now? Is it more balanced because...
It is because I have a thought about how I want to do it differently in the future, should that same type of a situation happen again, which it will.
Very good.
Because I have a family of very aggressive men, Mostly the men. Well, women, no, the women too. I live in a family of aggressive people
Okay.
with their opinions. They're very opinionated people.
Okay. So I'm just going to go back to when we first tried to identify your mood before you shut down. I would say you had high emotion and shut down. So wherever your emotion was highest. Now, after we considered balancing, that you thought about how you would deal with things in the future to save you having to feel like that, how would you say you rate on that scale of 0 to 100 now?
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, truthfully, in the last few minutes, I've experienced some anger around that situation. Like, that I wish I'd handled it differently in the moment. Now, having said that, I can look forward saying, okay, I want to handle it differently in the future. But how am I feeling right now? I feel pretty good about it.
So better than you initially did?
Yeah, because before then it was like I felt there was some helplessness. Now I don't feel helpless. And I feel like I can say what I need to say and not get into a fight.
This actually went in a better direction than I even imagined because, when you first had no rating scale, I thought, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But the idea is you go up and then shut down.
Very quickly.
Shut down gets you out of that high emotion. So that's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. But I'm not even aware of the emotion necessarily consciously when it happens. That shutting down, I've been doing that my entire life. I know I have. So it depends on the situation whether I'm aware of the emotion or not.
Okay. Do you think that you could use this type of exercise again?
Absolutely. Can I tell you about the resolution of that? Because it did resolve itself, which is why I ended up going back and working my way through it. About an hour and a half after I got home that night, my husband phoned me, and he apologized for being adamant with me. That was the word he used, that I had told him to send that text. He said, I actually think I took it upon myself to do that. And he apologized for that. And he didn't apologize for taking it upon himself. He apologized for being adamant that I had asked him. And I was able to say then, I said, well, I wondered, I said, it wouldn't be like me to ask you to do that. So but I didn't give myself enough credit for that in the moment. It wasn't there. It wasn't in my mind to do it. And so that resolved itself very nicely, and I didn't have to do anything. But after he apologized, that's when I was able to go back and take a look and say, oh, I think I do this all the time when I come up against that with somebody. And so I've been pondering that part of my personality or behavior. So, yeah. That's
good.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So this is cognitive behavior therapy. So this is looking at something, see how you felt, and then looking to see what substantiates what was said about you or what was done to you, and then looking at it, is that true? Am I that person? No, I'm not that person. And then how you feel when you actually put your thoughts out there that says, yes, I am a good person, or I am this, or I am that. So that's all bullshit. I don't have to live like that.
Yeah.
And then, you say, well, I feel better now. So that's a reinforcement to do it differently, and then consider, yeah, I'm not in for this anymore. Like, I need to stand up
I
because,
don't like being this way.
what's the worst thing that could happen is you never said, well, your husband could pop you one or something like that. You thought, I get really mad, and it could be ugly. So your biggest fear was that you would lose control.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. Oh,
so
yeah.
we looked at this a totally different way. You just threw me right off.
Oh, somebody else might someday too.
Well, people do that to me all the time, I think. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then I'd like to move on. We'll just give a little pause here, and I'll move on to one more that I think could.
I can take this with me.
You can have that one too.